wanted peace. The divorce proceedings were grueling. Lillian, sharp and unyielding, ensured that Adora came out on top. Davison was left with little more than his dignity, but even that had been severely bruised. Through it all, he couldn't help but wonder where things had gone so wrong. How had the woman he so loved become so cruel to him? How did his chubby African princess turn against him so quickly? What did I do? He kept thinking out loud. Months after the divorce was finalized, Davison's life took an unexpected turn. Lillian, the woman who had fought so fiercely against him in court as Adora's divorce lawyer, reached out to him. At first, it was under the guise of checking in on him, ensuring that the settlement was proceeding smoothly. But soon, their conversations grew more personal. Lillian had been struck by Davison's humility and care for Adora during their divorce. She had seen the sacrifices he made and the pain he endured, and it left an impression on her. What began as a professional curiosity blossomed into something more. She admired his strength and kindness, qualities she found rare in the line of work. Qualities she found rare in her line of work. Davison, initially hesitant, found himself drawn to Lillian. She was everything Adora had ceased to be: kind, respectful, and genuinely interested in his well-being. They began to see each other more frequently, and eventually their relationship became romantic. It was a slow burn, a love built on mutual respect and understanding. Adora, upon learning about Davison and Lillian's relationship, was stunned. She had never considered the possibility that Davison would find someone else, not to talk of her own lawyer, Lillian. Let me give you a background story of Lillian. Lillian had met Adora briefly during their university days in Lagos State University. Though they weren't close, but Adora admired Lillian's success from afar, viewing her as a role model of what a woman could achieve in a male-dominated field. Lillian was already carving out a name for herself, though her path was different from Adora's. Lillian was a few years older than Adora and had already established herself as a formidable lawyer in Lagos, while Adora was yet getting out of school. Known for her sharp intellect and no-nonsense approach, Lillian had a reputation for winning cases that others deemed impossible. Her clients ranged from high-profile politicians to everyday citizens, but her dedication to justice was unwavering. Lillian had always been fiercely independent, and while she had her share of suitors, none had ever managed to capture her heart. On the 18th of October 2020, Lillian was in a conference that hosted engineers, doctors and lawyers, and that was where she first saw Davison, who was one of the keynote speakers. She found him interesting and amazingly eloquent. He had a feel of peace around him, and that further interested her. She asked about him, but was saddened with the news that he was getting married. She felt unlucky again, as the men she always liked were taken, and she wasn't one to date a married man. Lillian had no idea that the girl Davison was going to marry in 2022 was Adora, until Adora brought out his picture as the man she wanted divorce from. She was taken aback because first, the face on the picture looked very familiar. Second, you were the lady he was preparing to marry back then? What a twist of fate, she thought to herself. Adora could not explain the silence from Lillian, but because she hadn't been to a divorce lawyer before, she excused it as one of those practices of studying an opponent. Lillian, realizing that she had been quiet for too long, broke the silence. "This is your husband?" she asked Adora. "Yes," Adora replied. "He is filing for a divorce, so I want to make sure I get what is duly mine. I don't want him getting anything I worked for. He can get to the street for all I care," she said, looking very, very mean. Lillian was surprised to hear all that from Adora, even though she didn't know her in depth. But from the much she knew, she had always held a perception of peace of her. Well, maybe Davison wasn't what she, Lillian, thought of him, which could have warranted Adora's angry disposition towards him and the divorce. Both ladies never knew their path would ever cross again. So when the proceedings and hearing progressed, she discovered that Davison she knew back in Nigeria was the one standing before her, just bruised and depressed. Lillian saw the whole turn of events as an opportunity to lock the man of her dreams finally. She made sure all the divorce ends were tidied, nothing missing. Lillian and Davison's relationship was a source of gossip. People raised an eyebrow about Lillian in all her essence settling for Davison, who was then still a common security guard and a caregiver. But Lillian and Davison paid no mind to them. They were happy, and that was all that mattered to them, having found in each other what they had been missing in their previous relationships. Davison and Lillian married in a quiet ceremony, surrounded by a few close friends. They had built a life together based on mutual respect and love, and Davison had finally found a peace he had longed for. Lillian used her influence to reinstate David in his previous position with all salary and false allegation penalty duly paid to him. He chose to go into real estate and develop properties, and he really excelled in that field. They welcomed a beautiful set of twins the next year and named them Chidinma and Chidebere, a name that meant God is good and God is merciful, because they were a boy and a girl. Adora, seeing Davison in the news as the third most influential property developer in America, was stunned to her lungs. She couldn't believe her eyes. But by the time she realized her mistakes, it was too late. She continued to climb the political ladder, but there was a void in her life that no amount of success could fill. She was now a prominent figure in politics and would occasionally look back on what she had with a sense of regret. She had achieved everything she set out to do, but in the process, she had lost something far more valuable. Davison, the husband of her youth. Davison had moved on, finding happiness with Lillian, who appreciated him for who he was, not just for what he could provide. Lillian never saw him as a stepping stone to any career lift. Rather, she saw him as a partner, a lover, and a friend. In the end, Davison realized that love was not just about sacrifice. It was about being with someone who valued and respected you as much. Someone who was equally invested in your growth. Lillian gave him that, and it was enough to heal the wounds of his past. What do you think about Adora's behavior? Because I personally think it was wrong. Davison had always been a doer. He talked less and did more. See, don't joke with hardworking men. Men that back up their words with action, they shouldn't be joked with. It was strange to me that Adora thought that Davison's downturn was his end. I just can't fathom what hooked her attention to act that way. A man who single-handedly ended poverty in his family, established his life at 32, relocated you and himself to US just to give you an upper hand in life, saw you through school, and the best you could do was ditch him when the going got tough for him. This is one of the many reasons men refuse to relocate their wives after marriage, because you can never really tell if your own wife will behave like that. At this point, any lady that wants to travel out should just increase or buckle up her hustle and fund her abroad dreams, because very soon there will be fewer men willing to relocate their spouses. Because this story is a true life story. Did you enjoy the story? Kindly click the subscription button to catch up on more interesting stories. Ring that notification bell to be notified when a new story is made available. Here at Stories Headquarters, we post African folk tales, real life stories, and historical stories and events. Would like to meet you, so share with us what you think on this comment section. Tell us where you're watching from so we can give you a shout out in the next story. Till the next story, give us a thumbs up and also share this. And also share with your friends and family. Till the next story, story lovers.